Hey there, how's it going? I'm Matt and welcome to Matt's Vietnam Live for another Sunday live session. It's great to have you watching. You're probably watching this after the event, but that's all good. I tend to get a lot of views after the live event, which is really good too, which means that the videos and the information have a little bit of legs, so to speak. People come along and check it out. And I think they appreciate the fact that I put together, I do a review. So typically the next day. So tomorrow I'll do a review of the video again and I'll put in timestamps or chapters so that people don't have to sit through, typically they've been going for 2 hours. I think these live streams, which is pretty crazy. So I put timestamps in there and chapters so that people can just flick through to the topics that they're interested in, which I think is pretty good. And I think it helps with the viewing of it, the enjoyability of it. There are fewer things that will annoy you when you're watching my videos. So that's one thing. So look out for that tomorrow. If you're just sort of coming in and out of the live stream today, check back tomorrow in the afternoon. I should have the the timestamps up by then. It usually takes me a little time to do it. So yeah, check that out when you can. The weather, as you know, I like talking about the weather. Yeah, we haven't had a hell of a lot of rain, to be honest. It's another beautiful day here in Saigon. What is it? 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and not a sign of any rain at all. Although we had a little bit of a downpour probably a few days ago. So my rain gauge hasn't really been getting much of a workout, actually, which is a little bit of a shame. So hopefully the rain comes pretty soon, although it's just absolutely sensational weather at the moment. A bit cloudy here and there, but just beautiful. Great for traveling as well. Yeah, so what have I been up to this week? Well, I've been fairly busy. I didn't you probably would have noticed that I didn't post a video this week because I got a little bit bogged down. I did some filming and I've been doing some editing, and I've come across a topic that means that I need to spend a little bit more time on it. So bear with me on that if you hang out for my videos at all, but it's going to take me a little bit longer to edit it because as it stands at the moment, I've been back twice already to the location where I've filmed. I might talk a little bit more about it later. Please remind me, because you guys are watching live. I'm quite happy to give you a little bit more information about that video. But I plan to go back again either tomorrow or Tuesday because more questions have arisen since I've come back and looked at the video footage. It's a type of, it started out as a vlog, and then as the vlog went on, I realized that it was developing into almost a little documentary, a mini documentary. So I thought that I really needed to get my facts straight, get my facts right, which is always a good idea. And also just that I had a number of questions that came up when I was looking over the video footage. So look out for that this week. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Hopefully, maybe about Wednesday or Thursday I'll have that done. And I might need your help as well in getting that video out there a bit further, giving it a bit more reach, because it has a sort of a social kind of aspect to it that is a really interesting but also very important issue that's happened over the past decades here in Vietnam. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chats. Tong Mu first. Yeah, you're back. Okay, it's good. I must have said something that was okay last week. So thanks for joining again. Really appreciate it. From memory, I think you're in Taiwan. Is that right? Are you still in Taiwan? Let me know. G'day, Derek. Hey, missed you last week, I think, but glad you're here this week. Good to see you. Are you still in Saigon? Let us know if you're in Saigon and how you're going with your sort of, I'm not sure if you were looking for jobs or something like that, or maybe looking for somewhere to live. So let us in on what's been happening with you, and you might have a lot of interesting information that you know, the guys in the chat might find useful and interesting. Oh, you're at Vinpearl Landmark 81. Okay, posh, up in the world. You've moved up in the world. Good work. Rabbit, g'day, Rabbit. How are you? How was the trip? Let us know about Cambodia. I think you went to Danang. Sorry, Cambodia was earlier, wasn't it, in the year or a couple of months ago? But I noticed you were in Danang, and really cool photos, by the way. It looked really good. Very nice to see photos that are not just, you know, of the beach and you know, Instagram photos of how amazing Danang is. It was good to see all the sort of cultural stuff as well. So awesome work. Hey, Vu, Xin Chao, how are you? Are you good? Good to see you in the chat. How's the weather over there? How's everything going in Sydney? Let us know. Tangmu straight into it. What do you do for a living? Bees. Hang on, I'll get back to you, Tangmu. Bees, hello and happy Sunday. How you going, Bees? Good to see you again. Hope everything's good in Scotland. Thanks for joining again. Let me just scroll through here. Tangmu, what do you do for a living? Well, that's a long story. Originally, I came out here to teach, like a lot of people. I was hired in Australia to come and teach at a university here. I spent 5 years there. Then I became a writer for a travel, I don't know what you would call it, like an expat English language travel lifestyle, expat life, Vietnam magazine. So I did that for a number of years. And then I became the managing editor of that magazine until, you know, things kind of changed in the media space, obviously, with digital media, and especially in Vietnam, really kicking off around, I think it was 2018 or so. So I was the managing editor of the magazine until then. So we still did print. I don't know if I've told this story before. I feel like I have, but at that time we were still doing print. We did a monthly edition. We had a cover story. It was a great magazine. I've actually got them. I've got all but one that I was involved in the bookshelf behind me. And so, yeah, we covered things like restaurants, bars, resorts, hotels, trips, and also topics of the time, things that were happening, issues and stuff like that were happening at the time in Vietnam. It was a very popular magazine. It was one of a few that catered to English speakers in Vietnam, predominantly expats. And because social media at that, you know, in the early stages wasn't as reliable, I suppose. You know, it wasn't like YouTube is now, for example, and Instagram and Facebook. People relied on it a lot. So that was a really good job. It was good fun. It was interesting. I met a lot of people. I would never usually meet, from people just on the street to, you know, general managers of 5-star resorts. And actually that might dovetail nicely into the topic that I have a little bit later to talk about. But, you know, lots of resort and hotel stays, which were good. Unfortunately, the money in the job wasn't that great, but I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of things. I wasn't a photographer or anything at the time. I wasn't really much of a writer at the beginning when I first started out. I had an interest in it, and I sort of, you know, blogged here and there and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, I think my background in teaching English really set me up for that job, because I was quite particular with the grammar and you know, I couldn't bear, especially when articles went to print. Once it's printed, it's not like a website where you can go back and adjust it straight away. You know, it was my job to really make sure that the whole magazine was up to scratch and grammatically correct and stuff like that. So a lot of work went into it. And it did get kind of stressful towards the, you know, the print day, you know, towards the end of the month, I think it was. I think we put it out in the first week of the month, I think it was, from memory. So, yeah, that was really good. So then I quit that job, and then I decided that I wanted to do my own thing. And I started something called the Bureau Asia. So you can check it out online. I've got a website called thebureauasia.com. I used to be very active on that until the pandemic. And so what I used to do was I'd do sort of what I used to do with the other magazine, the print magazine. And that was do reviews, stay in hotels, stay in resorts and that. But again, the money wasn't great at all. So I also did a little bit of moonlighting for travel magazines. I did a few articles for Travel and Leisure Asia. I think I did one for Singapore Airlines at one point as well. I got, you know, that was pretty cool. Yeah, so, and now, so the pandemic came, and then I've really just sort of, during that time, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? You know, I probably should have done this, you know, during the pandemic, but, you know, for whatever reason, I didn't. And, yeah, so more of the same sort of stuff is what I'm doing at the moment. And I'm trying to grow this channel with the view of potentially using it to help market a potential travel business or something in the realm of travel in the future. So that's a pretty long-winded answer to your question, Tang Mu, but thanks for asking. Let me see. What else have we got here? Rabbit. Okay, cool. Just popped to Danang with a view to move at the end of the year. Place had a great vibe. Yeah, if you guys remember, which you will, just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, we had Kwa as a guest on the live stream. And he's actually in Danang now. He could even be watching, I don't know. But he's having a family holiday in Danang at the moment. And he messaged me just today and said that, oh, it wouldn't be bad living here. And I replied and I said, well, the weather in wintertime is too cold for me. I wouldn't go there. But it is a beautiful city and it's grown a lot. A lot's happened. Of course, it's got the great international airport, which I think is a massive bonus for it, and just has that great town beach and all that sort of stuff. So would be good to hear some of your suggestions, Rabbit, if you can. Yeah, just there. Just popped to Danang with a view to move at the end of the year. Place has a great vibe. Yeah, I think it would be good too. But I don't know. I don't think I could live in cold weather. The winter for me gets a bit cold. So a bit cold and grey and wet and stormy. They cop a lot of stormies. Lana, hey, good evening. How are you? Glad to see you again. I think you're in Melbourne, right? I think. So thanks for joining again. It's great to have you. And let us know what you've been up to. When are you coming? When are you coming to Vietnam? Let us know. Yep, and Vu, I'll come and see you next year. Adam Hunter, g'day, Adam. How are you? I think it's the first time I've come across you in my live stream. Wow, you have lots of knowledge. you would be the first person who's ever said that. So thank you. I probably should shoot that and share it around my social media. I don't think I've ever been complimented like that, unless you're being sarcastic. I don't know. But I try. I don't know a hell of a lot about anything much else, to be honest. I know a little bit about Vietnam, living here, of course, and various other sports, I suppose, but that's about it, which is okay. I mean, you can't know everything. Okay, what else have we got? I'll just put this one up, Mel, if you're listening. I'll put this one up. This is Mel's in the back room again, monitoring everything and putting up the comments on the screen. So thanks, Mel. Just before we had I don't know how my voice sounds, but just before we started, I sneezed a few times and started coughing. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's dust or I'm getting sick. I don't know. I hope not. Vu, Matt and Mel, we should all go to Danang. And if you're around, Bees, it'd be good to see you in Danang as well. Yeah, pretty good. You can pay. Vu, coming up, I've got a couple of hotel suggestions. So perhaps you can shout me and Mel. That'd be really good, wouldn't it? Yeah, anyway, I can see you. I can just picture you now just going, okay. What else have we got here? I'll just put this one up as well. Vu, you know where oh, sorry, that's a chat between Vu and Rabid. Adam, love Saigon, was there last month. We'll be back in October. Okay, cool. That's great to hear. Let us know what your highlights were. And also if you've got any tips as a first-time traveler to Saigon and Vietnam. Because, to be honest, I'm probably not the best person to ask in terms of first-time traveling to Saigon. A lot of people ask me, what are the best tips for visiting Saigon? But it's a very different experience, obviously, living here and or being a a tourist. So let us know what your tips are, and let us know where you stayed. Here we go. This is cool. LG. This is interesting. I've never seen this before. Hey, man, nice stream. What you feeling on the difficult job market in Vietnam right now? Well, I think it's difficult for foreigners to get a job. I think I mentioned this last week, that you really need to be able to bring something to the table that's unique, or something that young Vietnamese people can't do. So, I mean, I guess I can talk about media to a certain extent. I guess with video, for example, video production, editing, and all that sort of stuff. There's so many young Vietnamese people here who are on top of the game here, who can do that, and they can also do it for a much cheaper price. They charge a lot less. So I guess in that sense, for sort of all fields in Vietnam at the moment, perhaps, I'm just thinking off the top of my head because I don't actually know about all fields, of course, but I would imagine that there are a lot of young Vietnamese people who are well-traveled, well-educated, skilled up in most industries in Vietnam, and the monthly salary is much less. The expectation, as they call it, is much less. So, if you're thinking about coming to Vietnam to work, you really need some kind of skill that's needed, in Vietnam. And I guess that's why English teaching, no surprises, has been very popular over the years. The other thing is that one tip, probably, if you're thinking about coming to Vietnam to work, if you're single, obviously it's very different from people who are coupled up or have a young family. Especially for people with a young family, you really want to think about, the education for your kids. So are your kids when you come here, are your kids going to be at education age? If you want to educate them in an international school or a local school, because the prices are, exorbitantly different. A lot of the, I guess you would call them higher ranking international schools, I believe that for a year to have your child attend there, it's, you're looking at 20 to 30,000 US dollars a year for one kid. So, if you're looking at job offers and perhaps someone offers you a job in Vietnam, you'd really want to, and you had kids, you would really want to look at what they can offer your kids in terms of education. The other thing is too, what's your partner going to do? Because, it's already a difficult job market for foreigners anyway. So, what, perhaps if your partner has, and you comes and you have kids, they've got a fairly busy job looking after them anyway. But there's probably going to be a lot of downtime as well. So what's your partner going to do? And I think, over the years, we've heard a lot of stories about how relationships can break down here because of the partner not being able to get a job or not, really enjoying it here so much because of various things like, the language barrier and, different age group, mixing with people of different age groups. Vietnam is still fairly young in terms of its demographic. So sometimes it can be hard to relate as well, not just through the language and culture, but also through age. So there's a lot of those sorts of considerations. So I think you'd want to have that sort of pinned down before you came to Vietnam. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Thanks. Algerian sommelier. Maybe there are jobs for sommeliers. Probably there are a lot of, if you are a sommelier, there are a lot of resorts here. And wine is obviously readily available here from all over the world. So I would imagine that there would be some kind of demand for sommeliers, and as long as you're a good one. And, there is a sommelier organization here as well. So, and that is run by local Vietnamese. So even in the wine space, there are highly trained young local Vietnamese who know their stuff when it comes to wine. So yeah. Okay, cool. That was a cool one. Nika's Lifestyle Turkey 101. Thank you for joining me. I would love to go to Turkey one day. The Turkish and the Aussies have a good relationship, and I used to in Australia, I used to teach a lot of Turkish, and I love them. Absolutely love them. And of course, it goes without saying, Turkish food. Wow, love it. So thanks for joining. I'll be back to Turkey soon. So you're not in Turkey. Are you in Vietnam, or where are you? Let us know. Cool. Thanks for joining us anyway. Okay. Let me just have a quick look at the chat. Oh, okay. There it is. There's the answer. I'm Thai. Never lived in Turkey yet. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Cool. So I'm assuming you're in Thailand. Okay. Another great. Okay. Here's another. I'm not Algerian and I'm not a sommelier. The reason for my username is classified. Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty cool then. That's good. But anyway, for others who are interested in wine in Vietnam, yeah, I just gave you a lot of information about that. So I hope it's useful. Yeah. Let me just grab a drink before we move on. And it's water. It's not wine today. Adam, I went to Danang too. Was great. I can recommend M Hotel and Novotel. Nice. I think we stayed in the Novotel one. Oh, no, that was Nha Trang. I think it was. We stayed in, I think it was the Novotel. Okay, cool. Nice. Okay, yeah. And very hot. this time of year. Danang is super hot. I'm assuming it was pretty hot when you were there. Did you go to the Ironman? Is that why you went to Danang? I think the Ironman 70.3 was on in Danang. Cool. Okay, so while you guys are chatting, and Mel will have a bit of a scout through the comments so she can bring them up when some come up. I think I noticed an article. Well, I did. I noticed an article in the local news recently about the best hotels and resorts to stay in Vietnam when you're here. I think it may have been based on TripAdvisor or something like that. I actually didn't even really read it, but the headline caught my eye. So I was thinking today that I'd like to share with you the 5 hotels and resorts, or my top 5 hotels and resorts that I've stayed in recently in Vietnam. So it may be useful for you guys who are thinking about coming to Vietnam. And the first one, well, actually, it's not in any order either. I was late to this. I was late coming to this. So I haven't sat down and thought about which one would be the best. Maybe after this conversation, maybe after presenting this, I might be able to come up with the best one. But the first one I've got on my list here, I think I'll bring this up, Mel, so just so we're not flicking between things. Sorry, that's not it. Bear with me for a second. Okay, this is it. Okay, there we go. This one's Capella in Hanoi. It was built only a few years ago, and it's opposite the Metropole and just down the road from the Hanoi Opera House. And absolutely sensational hotel. I was lucky enough to stay at this place because that was part of a media stay. So I had 2 nights there. And I think I stayed in this room here that you can see. This was a suite room. And the rooms have been, how do you say, not designed, but I guess fit out by a fellow called Bill Bensley. And Bill Bensley has a background in architecture and interior design. And I think he's based in Thailand, and he's responsible for the interior design of, well, he's award-winning. He's won a lot of awards, but I think he's responsible for the interior design of, it could be 20, 30 resorts and hotels. He's done quite a few of the Marriott hotels, which I'll mention in a little bit. But you can just sort of see the quality of it. Very sort of quirky. The Capella is, the theme is based on sort of the 1920s, sort of 1920s Prohibition era, with, you know, ladies dressed up with flappers and movie stars and stuff like that. And the rooms are all named after movie stars, I think. So the whole hotel, I mean, talking about interior design with these sorts of hotels that he does, he never, to use a film industry term, he never breaks the fourth wall with it. You know, it's just everywhere you look is related to the theme. And this particular room here, it was a suite. So that was sort of like the second room there that you can see. Absolutely sensational. great detail, just the finest of furnishings and stuff like that. The bathroom was incredible. The restaurant and the bar as well, done up sort of like a Prohibition era, restaurant and bar. And then I think from memory, up near the roof, there the bar was designed like what's it called, Central Station in New York. I think that was the theme of it. I've never been to Central Station in New York, but from what I gather, it didn't look exactly like it, but that was the theme of the particular bar and restaurant up there. And it had like a speakeasy, a secret sort of bar in there as well. Had an amazing time there. So yeah, Capella would be one that if you've got a little bit of money to spend, I don't know how much a suite room would be, but if you wanted to spend a special occasion in Hanoi, that might be one hotel that you would consider. All right. Here we go. Is that, Mel, are you referring to Capella? I'm assuming. So anywhere between 500 to 13,000. Really? 13,000? I don't know what you would spend 13,000 on. So, Vu, my hotel was $32 a night. Yeah. Yep. But yeah, sensational room. And of course you get all the great service with it as well, incredible service. So that was one of the sort of perks of the job that I had, that was the real upside of that job. The only thing is that you were constantly on the clock, and it was actually quite difficult to enjoy the amenities that they had. There was a pool. According to Rabid, it's 11 million a night on Agoda. Okay, so that's probably about $500. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I don't know if that's right. 13,000 a night. Maybe it's 13,000 for the whole hotel for the night. I don't know. Maybe there's some massive suite upstairs, but it's got this massive marbled swimming pool in the basement, which is kind of weird. It was kind of like a Turkish bath, to be honest. I didn't go into it. I wasn't that keen on it. But I was up there covering the opening of one of their restaurants, which became a Michelin starred restaurant, like a what do you call it? Like a teppanyaki, a Japanese teppanyaki restaurant, which was very awesome, and I really enjoyed that. Great food as well. So yeah, Capella, yeah, it's up there. It's right up there. The next one, moving on to, is this one is in Danang. This is the Intercontinental in Danang. Again, I was lucky enough to stay there as part of a media trip junket, I suppose it was, a few years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. And this is the beach, and on the hills there are the villas. And the mountains or the hills behind it, that's Somcha Peninsula, and it's home to a very rare monkey. What's it called now? It's that rare. I can't remember the name. It's a declanger, it's called. I can't remember the leg. There are different colored legs. There's a red-legged declanger. There's a yellow-legged one. And this particular monkey is in the hills of Somcha, and it's protected. But there's also the downside of staying at this place is that there are lots of macaques, and they end up on your balcony. And the first night that we were there, Mel and I were there, we were enjoying our bottle of champagne, and a macaque came along and stole it off us, basically. So it also raided our room one night. We went out for dinner and came back, and the housekeeping staff had left the sliding door on the balcony open when they came in to turn the bed over and all that sort of stuff and prepare it for the evening. the housekeeping staff of all people left it open, and when we came in the front door of our place, there was a macaque in our fridge. Was it in our fridge, or it was pulling the drawers out where the little coffee capsules were? And yeah, our room sort of looked like this, and behind where the bed is, there is where the fridge and all your sort of little amenities are and stuff like that. And there were 2 macaques in there, and I went in and freaked out, and Mel was a little bit behind me, and in the meantime the door shut. So I was in the room with the macaques, and Mel was at the door freaking out, saying, open the door. And fortunately the macaques looked at me and ran across the bed and back out the door with a cheeky grin, looking over their shoulders. Thankfully, they were scared of me, because I don't know what I would have done, because I was shit scared of them. They were quite big. Yeah, so that's a really nice place. Another Michelin-starred restaurant. Mel says, Soncha Langer is exactly a red-shanked. That's it. Red-shanked Duklanger. They're gentle, but not the macaques. Yeah, the Declangers, I'm going to say Declanger. The Declangers are very timid and rarely come down, but we were very lucky to see some of them. We were very fortunate to see them. But the macaques they were everywhere. Yeah, bees, yeah, stole the champagne. And we freaked out, and it bared its teeth at me and came at me. And we just bolted inside and shut the door, and it grabbed onto the bottle of champagne. It tipped over the stools that we were standing on. It was a real mess. And I heard later on that the male of the macaque group will know when there's a new guest in there, and they come in and they kind of mark their territory, and they try and sort of, what's the word? They mark their territory and try to show you who's boss and suss you out to see whether you're a weakling or not. So we were definitely weaklings when that happened, because I just didn't want to get bitten by them, like the dogs that we see getting around. Okay, so Nika, I'll just call you Nika. Okay, Nika, I just ran away hot from Thailand, my home country, and we'll go hot again in Danang. Yeah, I hear that Thailand is very hot at the moment. Obviously not too far away from here, Thailand. As the crow flies, only about 500 kilometers or something, I think, 500 or 600 kilometers, not too far away. So, yeah, I watch a lot of content from Thailand. So, yeah, I'm aware of that. But this photo we've got up now, that's the restaurant as well, overlooking the bay there at the Intercontinental. We didn't actually get to sit in that. I can't remember sitting in it anyway, because it was obviously really popular and all the Instagrammers took it up. And that sort of round seating there, it overhangs the building as well. So it's pretty special. It's a pretty special place. Although I would say the beach and the swimming isn't as good as a lot of other places. Adam, in Saigon, I love bun cha, and in Danang, I love mi wang, beef noodles. Yum. Yeah. Well, Danang is the home of mi wang, and it's a very unique dish that we get here in Saigon as well, but it's not as good. It doesn't, obviously, it's, there's probably less demand for mi wang down here, and not as many people probably living down here from Danang, I suppose. But it's a great dish, very fresh, and typically it's cool, isn't it? It's not really a hot dish. It's typically a room temperature noodle, which is good, and it's got those sort of what's the Japanese noodle? I can't think of the Japanese noodle. It's like an udon. It's almost like an udon noodle, the way it's done. Sensational as well. Buncha, I think that is like, buncha is like the, I don't know, it's like the adobo of the Philippines. Everyone loves it. I was trying to think of, you know, what the Australian equivalent would be. The Vegemite probably of, oh no, hang on, not Vegemite, but a dish, I don't know, a dish in Australia that everyone would love straight off the bat, you know, and buncha's it. Buncha's got those little rissoles in it that everyone loves, and sometimes that fatty bacon pieces in it as well. B, soba. Not really. Soba is what they call, it's made from buckwheat, and soba is a little bit brown and probably a little bit finer. I think miwang would be closer to a mix. I think there are two noodles mixed in it as well. Closer to udon, and also what you would call mì here. Mì is like in Vietnamese, it refers to wheat, more of a wheat noodle that's yellow. You know, you might see that a little bit more with wonton soups and stuff like that. So with peanuts, fresh herbs, a lot of fresh herbs, shrimp and stuff like that. Sensational dish. Should go and have it, actually. Wouldn't mind having some tonight. There's just not that many places around. Yeah, so that's it. That's the Intercon. What's the next one? Let me have a quick look at the chat. Let me have a look. These, yeah, $20,000 to $30,000 for school, and that's US dollars as well. But I think what the case is with a lot of those international schools is that they also act as kind of like student recruitment agencies to a lot of the big international schools, a lot of Ivy League schools in the States and stuff like that. So those schools really work as a pathway to those prestigious, I guess you'd call them foreign universities, you know. So there's a lot of kids who do well here apparently, and they get into, you know, Yale and Harvard and stuff like that, you know. I don't know how the parents are paying for it. Maybe they come over on packages and stuff like that. I don't know. What else have we got? Bear with me for a moment. My voice is getting croaky. I hope I'm not getting sick. Here's a good one. This is relevant. Adam in Saigon stayed at Fusion Center, great location and within the shopping center. Yeah, that one's in Takashimaya, I think. Saigon Center, Saigon Square, Saigon Center, Takashimaya. Anyway, yeah, I back when I was doing more sort of resort and hotel reviews and stuff like that, I was invited to go along and have a look. I wasn't invited to stay there, but I got a pre-opening look at that place, yeah, and it looked pretty flash. Felt a little bit closed in though. The ceilings felt a little bit low, and but great location, you know, right in the center of town for sure. Okay, speaking of Fusion, I'm going to go with my third one that I really like, not necessarily third ranked. Let me see if I can bring this up. Okay, here we go. This one here is Fusion Cam Run. And this is at Cam Run is just a little bit south of Nha Trang, which is about, I don't know how far from here, 400 or 500 kilometers north of Ho Chi Minh City. And Cam Run Bay has just been developed or been developing in probably the last decade or so. Yeah, so that whole strip of resorts along there is really quite new. Cam Run traditionally is more of a sort of a fishing center. There's a lot of seafood that comes from Cam Run and gets exported around the country and possibly overseas. I don't really know if it gets exported overseas, but they're famous for lobsters and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of lobster, crayfish or lobsters up there, and also barramundi. I think they call it sea bass here. So there's a lot of fish farming up there, but also there's a large military base there, and it's Vietnam's deepest port, I believe. So Mel, the airport there is at Cam Run. Yeah, the airport is right there. So this particular resort here is only minutes really from the international airport there. So massive airport. It's a great location. Cam Run itself, it's a little bit isolated. This is the room. This is pretty much the room I stayed in on another media stay that I was lucky enough to go on. The room was sensational. And I stayed there by myself, and I remember messaging Mel and just saying, I don't know. I don't really know what to do. I'm kind of bored. This is a place that you want to share with someone, you know. Like, it was amazing. It was a beautiful room, absolutely beautiful room. And so coming out of the foot, so if you're lying in bed and you're looking past your feet, there's a swimming pool. So each of these villas has its own swimming pool. And I don't know if there's another photo there or not of the swimming. No, there's not of the swimming pool. Bees. Oh my God, these hotels are nearly making me cry. Mel, while I'm stuck here in the pouring rain. Yeah. This is the bath. The bath was a little bit unusual. Kind of looks like a hammock, doesn't it? And it was also, they wanted to give me the full treatment as well. So they brought me, what do you call it? High tea. They brought me high tea in the middle of the afternoon. So that was one other thing that I don't do high tea. So Mel would have absolutely loved that. I think I ended up eating some of it in the bath, but they also set the bath up with rose petals, and I think there was like a glass of Prosecco or something, and it was over the top, you know. So unfortunately, Mel wasn't with me for those ones. It was just a bit weird hanging out by yourself in these rooms, knowing that you had to review them, you know. But beautiful anyway, right on the ocean. They also have a pretty good, what do you call it, like sustainability program as well. You know, these sorts of things are really kind of trendy for these sorts of resorts these days. So they have a farm there. So the eggs that they produce, some of the eggs anyway, I mean, I don't think they can actually produce the eggs required for all their guests, especially at peak time. But they have a farm there where they produce the eggs for the kitchen. They grow their own herbs and veggies and stuff like that. And it's really quite nice, and it's fun, and it's great for little kids, you know. I enjoyed it as well. I mean, obviously I grew up on a farm, so I loved that aspect of it. And they had lots of different little animals there, you know, farm animals and stuff like that. So it was really good, great stay. And I think you could probably get some reasonable prices there, I reckon, at Cam Run. But yeah, loved it. Loved that there. Okay, let's go to the chat a little bit. before we go on to the next one is another fusion one, which is more in my price range. Even though I was lucky enough to stay at this one at a media stay a few years back as well. This is Fusion Suites in Vung Tau. So Daz, if you're watching, you know, I don't know if you've stayed there yet, but it's smack bang in the middle of town. Now, when I say town, the middle of Front Beach. So when people talk about Vung Tau, which is about 2 hours drive from east from Ho Chi Minh City, they talk about Front Beach and Back Beach. Front Beach is the traditional old area of Vung Tau. That was where it was first settled. And then you go around the point to Back Beach, and it's a long strip. If anyone's been to Nha Trang, it's similar to that, but on a smaller scale. It's got a lot of high-rise apartment blocks now, and the foreshore is getting done up as well. So the downside of Vung Tau is the beach is not so nice. It's not great for swimming. I go there to eat and just to look at the views, as you'll see in the next one. The next photo that I've got is the swimming pool. I'll just bring that up. There, that one there. So on the rooftop, they got a swimming pool there that overlooks Front Beach. And as you can see on the right-hand side there of that photo, that's they're fishing boats. So, and the tide goes out a fair bit. So you can imagine that it gets fairly smelly with the fishing boats there. And especially when the tide goes down as well, it goes out a fair way. But that swimming pool there is pretty sensational. And especially if you go to Vung Tau during the week. Vung Tau is a getaway for a lot of local Saigonese, a lot of people who live in Ho Chi Minh City, because it's very easy to get to these days. It's quite a short trip, and it's quite cheap to get there. And so it just gets inundated with holiday makers at the weekends, and especially during public holidays. But if you go there during the week, you'll pretty much have that pool to yourself for all of the day, and you'll get a few Instagrammers or whatever, or kids going up there wanting to take photos and stuff like that. But there you go. This one, we went back and paid ourselves. It was $2 million a night. Yeah, we had a very nice room too. It had a good view. It had a view. You can't see it, but to the right of that photo, it's like a small bay, and it's quite protected. It's a lovely little spot, and the sun goes down in that direction as well. So we had a view of that. We had a nice sunset view, and we could just go up on the rooftop there. There's a bar. In Vietnam, there's no real inhibitions with selling alcohol to people in swimming pools. So in Australia, I can remember it's usually no alcohol near the swimming pool. I think I can safely say that at all resorts and hotels in Vietnam, you can be in the water and have glassware on the side of the pool. So yeah, when I first came here, that was a little bit strange, but you get used to that very quickly, and it's a lot of fun. It's good, you know. Yeah, that's a good one. Lana, can you please convert to AUD, Mel? It might be, yeah, not sure. Mel will do that. Thanks, Mel. But it's a good place. Vung Tau is also getting one of the Hilton, I think it's one of the Hilton brands, and it's coming up. You know, I mentioned just a moment ago that Front Beach is a small bay, and in the middle of the street, halfway around that bay, Hilton is building one of its other branded sort of hotels right there. So that might be another option too. But I think they've got a fair way to go yet. I'm not too far. I haven't been to Vung Tau for a little while, since last year. I think it was last year that Mel and I went to this place. TJ, 120. Yeah, 120 a night. There you go. Yeah, it's getting up there. They also have sort of, what do you call them, self-contained apartments as well. So, and just to the back, so to the left of that photo there, sort of thing, there's a street food street there as well. So, you know, if you were going to Vung Tau and you wanted a little bit of comfort, but you also wanted to cook your own food, there are apartments in that, you know, 2-bedroom apartments with little, what you call a kitchenette or something like that. You know, they're quite spacious actually, with balconies. And just down the side street is a wet market, a seafood market that you can buy, you know, really fresh seafood. So not a bad little spot. I quite like it. Yeah, very affordable, especially for Aussies coming over. Yep. And I think there aren't that many options at the moment in Vung Tau like it. I think there's the Pullman Hotel, but the location isn't so great. It's a close walk to Back Beach, but you're not probably going to get that nice a view. You're definitely not going to get a view like at Fusion. I mentioned the Hilton. They're building a new building, but I don't think that'll be ready for quite a while. And what's the old one? I can't remember the name of it. I can never remember the name of the old, it's been around for years, for decades, the hotel there. I think Mal will remember it, the name of that place. But there are a lot of smaller boutique sort of places coming up as well. I'll put them in the description tomorrow. So if anyone's interested, I think Lana, you might be interested in some of those places. So I'll have a think about other small sort of boutique places. Mal and I stayed in a really nice one there a few years back that was more sort of a French style kind of place, and tucked away, not noisy, still with ocean views. It was really nice. Kevin, hey Kevin, how you going? Long time no hear. Good to see you here. What's the drinking age in Vietnam? Australia, it's 18. Vietnam, by law, it's 18. But I've never heard anyone being checked for their age if they're drinking. In Vietnam, you don't see kids walking around the streets drinking anyway. I mean, alcohol is available in convenience stores, they're called tap hoa. It's like a sari store in the Philippines. If you've been to the Philippines, they're kind of a mixed business. Perhaps that's what we would call it in Australia, a mixed business or a milk bar or something like that. But they're absolutely packed. They're like a traditional convenience store in a smaller shop, if you can imagine it. And they sell just about everything, and they sell alcohol there. But I don't know. I can't remember of instances where I've seen young people who look younger than 18 drinking, to be honest. Maybe they do in other areas or something like that. But and there's never anyone checking on the door of bars for ID. No one will ever check. I mean, obviously, when they see me coming, they won't be checking. But there aren't door people. You'll have security, but they're looking after the motorbikes that turn up, or the parking, or just making sure that people don't trip over or whatever. But It's 18 in Australia and Vietnam. Whereas in Australia, you know, you would have, if you wanted to go to a nightclub, there'd be a doorman on the door there checking your age if you look young, but not here at all. Yeah. Okay, cool. Mel, Kevin, young kids drink booba tea. Yeah, but lots of kids smoke or vape, even if it's not allowed. Yeah, there's a little bit of vaping going on, but yeah, it's just not, that sort of stuff is just not, it's not visible anyway. You know, they don't seem to be interested in it. They're probably more interested in just looking at their phones. That's probably the biggest thing at the moment in Vietnam, is that everyone is on their smartphone. You know, you'll sit down at a coffee shop and look around and just go, wow, everyone's looking at their phones. But I guess that's the same all around the world. Okay, so I think I have, oh no, that's it. Is that it for my resorts? I'll tell you a couple of other ones as well. The other one was, and I don't have any photos of it, but on Phu Quoc, it's another Marriott hotel. It's called Emerald Bay Phu Quoc. It was really nice. I stayed there for another media stay. Pretty sensational, expensive, and interior design by what's his name? Bill Bensley as well. So yeah. So I'll make sure I leave links to those, or at least names of those places, so you can check them out. All right, cool. I'm a little bit behind on the chat. Bees, you're so bloody fancy, Matt. Yeah, I know. You got to be, don't you? You got to be. I just got a bit lucky there for a while. You know, I was getting invited to these things. So the downside of going to those things on a media stay was that, you know, you just had to write everything good about them, you know. So my outlook on those things changed a fair bit after a while. And that's why I started to focus on YouTube, because I could be more honest, you know. Okay, let me just have a look through here. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind, so I'm just looking at that. It's good to see you guys chatting. Bees. Vu, have you fallen asleep? He might have. He's probably gone out for a banh mi, I'd say. Yeah, and the third thing that I wanted to chat about today was the upcoming video, because you guys are here live. I just wanted to sort of give you a little bit of an update on my upcoming video. So a couple of weeks ago, those of you who watched the video when I went for a little walk over in Binh Chanh district, not too far from here actually, sort of near, sort of in between District 7, which is this one, and District 8. And I came across a couple of ladies who were very keen to tell me about their personal story, about their life, and about how they adopted their baby daughters out. One of them adopted them back in 1997, and another one, from memory, to around about 2000, I think it was. So we're talking nearly 30 years ago, especially for one of them. So they were very keen for me to sort of hear their story. Now, these ladies, I think it's fair to say, have spent most of their life living just on, you know, what we might call the breadline, the poverty line, and or under it. And so I talked about it in that video a few weeks ago. And I think from memory, I said that I wasn't sure whether, oh, just a moment, hold that. I'm out of battery. I've just got to change the battery on my camera. Just a moment. I'll give you a look at the beach, I think. Bear with me. Sorry about that. It's a tricky little thing to change over. This is where we need some interlude music, eh? Okay, I'm back. Okay, done. Job done. I really need to get something to plug it into the wall so I don't have to do that. Anyway, so these two particular ladies, they were very keen for me to sort of know about their story. And at the time, I wasn't too sure whether I should cover it in a video or not, because it seemed like it was a sensitive topic, but also they were very open about talking about it. And so I had a bit of a think about it, and last week I went back there, and I ran into one of the ladies. She was the lady who had adopted her daughter out to a French lady back in 1997. Her baby was 4 months old at the time. And this particular lady, Ian is her name. She's now 54 years old. So at the time she was 26. And so I managed to catch up with her, and we went through her story together over a few hours, and quite tricky to do in terms of capturing it all, filming it and stuff like that, because I'm just doing it by myself, and with one camera, one mic, and also dealing with a very sensitive topic as well. So, and also in my head coming up with questions on the fly. I had questions for her, but as the story went on, there were more questions, and also thinking about how I'm going to edit this. It's not going to simply be just a vlogging video. So anyway, we caught up, we chatted, and then I reviewed the footage the next day or that night, and I decided that I wanted to go back. There were more questions that I wanted to ask her. So I went back the next day, had breakfast with them, and she told me a little bit more. She sort of put more pieces together in the puzzle. And since coming back the last couple of days, I have more questions. I have more questions to ask her. So I plan to go back there again tomorrow or Tuesday to just get a bit more of a picture, because I've done a little bit of research into what things were like back in 1997. Obviously it's a very big decision for someone to give up their baby, and obviously the socio-economic situation at the time in Vietnam was quite dire, even though it was improving. It had come out of what they called Doi Moi. Doi is change, and Moi is new. So sort of literally new change. So back in 1986, the Vietnamese government decided that they needed to change, and they wanted to open up Vietnam to trade and stuff like that. And also, I think the trade, part of it was the removal of trade embargoes by the US as well. Don't quote me on that, but I'm assuming that it was around about that time. May have been later. Maybe that was in the 90s when Bill Clinton came. I'm not too sure. Maybe that's when they normalized trade again in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. Someone will let me know, probably Rabid. You'll know if you're still watching. So the mid to late 90s in Vietnam economically was difficult. The per capita income for Vietnamese was, the average, I think, was $320 or something for the year, and also because there was demand from overseas for Vietnamese babies, as you could imagine, there were agencies and businesses opening up that were supplying this demand for babies, and so which opened the door for a lot of issues, as you can imagine, with adopting babies out. So we're talking nearly 30 years ago in Vietnam. So all of this sort of stuff is starting to come to light for me. I went into this story not even expecting to do a hell of a lot with it, but as I keep, like anything, as you keep learning more, you keep, more questions arise. So hopefully tomorrow or the next day will be the last day of going to chat to her about this for the video. And hopefully I can get it up online pretty soon. I think it's pretty eye-opening. It's sad, but it's also, the lady, Ian, Miss Ian, she doesn't seem to have any, what's the word, like massive expectations of it. She actually asked me the other day if I could help her make contact with her daughter. And I said, and I knew it was coming. I knew that question would come at some point. And that was one of the reasons why I was holding back from following up on this video, because I was worried about those sort of ethical issues behind it. What would I do and say when one of these ladies asked me if I could help them either find their daughter or at least make contact with them? Anyway, the question came up, and I said I'll try to contact them, because the adoption papers, they actually have addresses. So there's actually, with various correspondence that Miss Ian has in her possession from 25 to 27 years ago, there are addresses and there is a phone number. Now, the likelihood of that phone number working, I haven't called it yet, but I'm going to give it a call at some point. But I'm procrastinating a little bit on that one. I'm thinking that one. Maybe you guys can answer this question in the chat. At what point does it become invading somebody's privacy? Because I'm doing this from the adoptive mother's side. In all likelihood, it might be the case that the family where her daughter went doesn't want to be contacted. It's turning out to be quite likely that is the case. I don't know. I'm just trying to read between the lines, but I'm very mindful of prying into other people's business with this one. So I'm going to have to treat it carefully. Anyway, let me know what you think. And if you've got any questions, maybe you can think of some questions that I need to ask her, you know. And also perhaps if I do actually make contact with her daughter or with the family, you know, what do I say? You know, how do I approach it? Because I've never done it before. And as I mentioned in the video, I'm not a documentary filmmaker, and I don't call myself a filmmaker either. So it's all new territory for me, but it's you know, it's a big learning experience in many aspects for me. And I was messaging a friend of mine just the other day about it, and I just said, you know, it's at the very least I've learned something as well, and I've also tried to help someone. So I think, you know, that's one of the upsides already from doing it. So Kevin, my cousin was adopted from Danang in the 90s. Vietnam was easily a third world country at that time. She has her family over here and has never expressed going back. Yeah, I think there's a lot of, well, firstly, the 90s, from the little bit of research that I've done, and obviously through meeting Miss Ian, the 90s was a time, you know, we hear a lot about just after the war, post-war, so 1975 and 76 and 77 and so on. And then after that, sort of the early 80s as well. But I hadn't really heard too much about the 90s, and I'm starting to realize that the 90s as well was a time when sort of these adoptions to the US and also particularly to France were commonplace, and thousands of babies were adopted from Vietnam. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, the socioeconomic situation at the time meant that not a lot of things went on above board. There were a lot of shady dealings that went on at that time. And so, yeah, very, very interesting, but also very sad in a certain way as well. But yeah, Kevin, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think Vietnam's per capita income was about $350 a year, as opposed to, say, Australia. From memory, it was something like 22,000, you know, US dollars a year to the value of. So that's the discrepancy in the per capita income at the time. And so you can imagine that, you know, people, there would have been a lot of people not earning $350 a year at that time. There would have been a lot of people earning much, much, much less. So obviously that opened up this sort of adoption pathway. And from what I gather, you know, it wasn't just a benevolent exercise as well. You know, there was some shady things going on. Kevin, in 1997, Highway 1 was a dirt road. Motorbikes and cars were rarely seen. Well, I was here, I came here for a holiday in 1999. It's a bit hard for me to remember back. Highway 1 was sealed. It might have been dirt in certain sections, and not, you know, the shoulder of the roads were most likely dirt, but there was tarmac. I can remember that. Highway 1 is the highway that runs from north to south all the way up the country. And from what I can remember, it was sealed, but, you know, obviously not like it is today. There's not the network of highways and bridges and roads. And I can, because what I did when in 99, I went to Hanoi, flew into Hanoi. And what the thing to do back then was to buy a bus ticket. So I was backpacking and everyone said to me, buy a bus ticket. It's open-ended, meaning that you could, it's like a get on, get off bus. You could go to the hostel that you're staying at each day. They would contact the bus company and say, oh, there's one person to pick up here. So there was a bus leaving every day. Or it was a night bus, actually. And I can remember not sleeping a wink every night that we were on that bus. So we went from Hanoi to, didn't stay in Ninh Binh because, oh, we did. Took the bus from Hanoi to Ninh Binh, and I remember renting a motorbike on Highway 1. Highway 1 was sealed. I remember our little dumpy little one-star hotel that we stayed in. It was on the main road, and they gave us motorbikes. We rented motorbikes, and we went to the, you see it online, the canoe, what do you call it? The boat thing through the rivers and stuff like that back in 99. So Ninh Binh, then the next stop was Hue. So we went to Hue, went to then Hoi An. We skipped Danang. Danang is only a relatively new place to stay at because back then, and even when I first came to live here, so back in 2010, Danang was a place that you skipped. You flew into Danang, got out the airport and straight to Hoi An, and the airport that's in Danang right now, that's a new one. That's a new airport. That's always been the airport there in town. It was the old US Air Force Strip. But there was an old airport and they've since updated it. So yeah, Hoi An. So I went to Hoi An in 99, which was, loved it, sensational, 99. Hoi An, must have gone to Nha Trang and then on to Saigon. So yeah. Rabbit, did she have other children? As there was actually a 2-child limit around that time. Yeah, she does. She has 2. So Rabbit's talking about Miss Ian, who I've been interviewing. And since then, she's had 2 children. She has 2 boys who I think, that's another question I want to ask her. I want to ask her again how old they are. So, yeah, she has 2 boys here who lived with her. They've since, I think, moved out on their own. They would be well into adulthood now, I guess. And she showed me into her house. So she doesn't live with them. Her 2 boys don't live with her. Her house is a little, as you can imagine, a very small, it's a room. It's a room, and she sleeps in a hammock. She doesn't have a bed. So, yeah. Rabbit, I think the embargo lasted till early 90s. Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's when Bill Clinton came and, he famously went to the Pho 2000. I think the guys at Pho 2000 are still dining out on the fact that Bill Clinton came to eat at their restaurant, which would have been a massive thing back in the 90s. But yeah, I think on that visit, that was when the embargo was lifted. I think that's part of why he came, I think. Yeah. Bees, it's lovely she trusted you with her story, Matt. It's heartbreaking for her. Yeah, I just hope I haven't got her hopes up, But I think all you can do is try. I think I would feel more uncomfortable if I didn't give it a go, And the other thing you got to realize too, Bees, is that when Vietnamese people trust you, they are super open about these things. So she I'm assuming that she's told everybody in her community her full story. I'm just assuming that because we're sitting, when I go to see her and we're talking to each other about it, you know, there could be 10 people sitting around nearby within earshot listening to everything. So she's laying it out all in front of her as well. So I think also it's a little bit of, she doesn't seem desperate. Like she's what's the word? I'm not going to say measured, but she's level-headed. Like she's not pushing it on me either, you know, and she's not saying, oh, you do the, get this out there or whatever. She understands the situation, I think. And I think she did, though. She saw the opportunity. She's like, okay, this guy might be able to help me. I actually asked her if she called the number in France, but obviously she doesn't speak French and she doesn't speak English. And, you know, back in the day when she lost contact with her child, she didn't have access to a phone and she didn't know what to do, you know. And even now, I believe that she's illiterate. I haven't actually asked her that question, but a few times I've written things down in Vietnamese and given them to her. And she's sort of said, oh, no, I can't read it, you know. And she has glasses, so she can see. But I just didn't – I'm ready to ask her that question now because I think that's kind of an important little point because it's, you know, people will ask, oh, well, she had the address, she had the phone number, she had the name of her daughter. Why didn't she just call, you know? So that's going to be one. TJ, yeah, it's a tough one, but it's worth a try. At least you can back yourself up with your YouTube channel and the interest you show towards Vietnam, especially for the last 15 years. Yeah, thanks, TJ. Yeah, thank you. I think so. I think that's how I feel about it as well. And, you know, hopefully, including you guys, hopefully you can give it a share if you can, or, you know, perhaps you hear some kind of story and you can pass it on. I'm really doing it just because it's a very interesting story. I want to help her out. And, you know, I mean, if 15 people see the video, if it gets 15 views, but one of those people at least is someone who can share it on to either the, what do you call it, the mother who adopted her baby, or at least her daughter, hopefully, you know, maybe somewhere along the line they pick it up, that'll be it, you know, that'll be great, you know. Rabid dog. Yeah, Doi Moi was adopted 1986. Yeah. So it must have been, you know, nearly 10 years afterwards that the embargo was lifted by the States. So very tough times, as you can imagine. Actually, it would be very hard. I got a bit of an idea of what it was like back in '99 when I traveled here, and there was a lot of desperation. You know, travelers were starting to come through. Vietnam was starting to have a tourism trade again. And I used to come down in the morning at my home, what do you call it? Sorry, I've gone blank. Not homestay. You know, where the hostel, at the backpacker hostel. And back then there were a lot more cyclos. Cyclos are like the bicycles with the 3 wheels. They're like a tricycle, pedal bicycle. And you sit on the front, kind of like a rickshaw, but a bicycle sort of thing. And every morning they knew that the backpackers were coming down for breakfast, and there would be a line of them lined up opposite across the street, waiting for you to move. And all they wanted was for you to hire them and, you know, give them some money. and they were desperate, you know. And if you just sort of given them sort of a, what do you call it, an offhanded comment the day before and said, oh, I'll go with you tomorrow, they remembered it, and they remembered your face, of course. And they, you know, you'd come out of the hostel and they go, you told me you would come with me today, you know. But they would invariably rip you off. You know, it wasn't much money, but you know, they were desperate. They were really, really desperate at the time. There were lots of operators who were desperate in the travel, you know, industry at the time. Oh yeah. Matt, yes, good to share later with French Vietnamese friends on their social media. This one, yeah, there's a YouTuber, Rusty. He's not actually a YouTuber, really. Rusty Compass. I know him, Mark. Mark's a friend of mine. I've known Mark for probably, I don't know, 10 years or so. He's an Aussie. And yeah, he first came to Vietnam in the early 90s, like 1990, 91, maybe. And he eventually set up, I think what it's called is Travel Indochina. He's no longer a partner in that business. He has his Rusty Compass business, and he organizes trips to Vietnam with a focus on the history and sort of the architecture, very much cultural tourism. But yeah, he started travel. I think it's called Travel Indochina was the company, one of the first ones ever. And I don't know how long ago. I think it was the 2000s that he got out of that, sold it, or took his, you know, his share or whatever happened. And yeah, he does his own thing now. And I run into him occasionally. I haven't seen him for a couple of years now, but probably 2 years ago I had a beer with him. Yeah, about 2 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, he's always been a go-to person for that. He knows more about Vietnam than any of us will ever know, you know, and he speaks a good brand of Vietnamese as well. Here we go. Kevin asking about Australia. I've never been to the middle of Australia. It's a desert, mostly, for the most part. The central part of Australia is mostly desert. Most people live on the east coast of Australia. Yeah, so it's huge. Australia is nearly as big as the US. We don't have cities and towns and whatever else in the middle of the country like you do in the States. You know, we only have, I don't know, Lana, if she's still watching, or Vu, they'll be able to tell me how many states and territories we have. I think we have 7. That's about it. Yeah, you can still find very poor areas in the USA. Yeah, I watch Peter Santinello on YouTube, and he tends to go to all those sorts of places in the States. He has a lot of really interesting stuff. I found the one on San Francisco really interesting as well that he did recently. But I don't know if you watch him, Kevin. He's really worth watching. Blank Sky Lounge, Landmark 81 on the 75th floor. Yeah, nice, isn't it? It's really cool. Good spot. Good spot. Yeah. I think that's where I went with my mate from Thailand when he came over. Not this year, last year. I think we went there. We went there and had a couple of drinks and looked out towards the airport. Really nice. Bees. I think we were all waiting to hear the update in the story, Mel. The chat went quiet. I think I updated, didn't I? I don't know if there's any more I need to say about that story at the moment. But if you've got questions about it, I'm happy to answer them here because you guys have made the effort to turn up live. So I'm very happy to talk about it, even though I haven't put the finishing touches on the video yet. I don't mind doing that. Peter, hey, how you going, Peter? Good to see you again. I think, yeah, I think you were here last week. Is that right? I think, though, you had a photo on your avatar, I think, last week. So, Peter, in Vietnam, 2.5 weeks. Can't wait. Where are you going to again? Are you going to Danang? Is that where you're going? I think you are. We were talking about Danang quite a bit in the last, about an hour ago. We were talking about Danang a fair bit. So I was asking Rabbit to put up some tips. Any tips, Rabbit, if you're still watching, for maybe restaurants, bars, places for cheap beers? That would be good. Adam, how long since you've been back to Australia? I went back to Australia for Christmas 2 years ago. Yeah. Last Christmas we were in Manila. My wife's from Manila, so we usually go to Manila for Christmas. But the one previous to last year, so whatever that was, 2023 Christmas, I went back then for a couple of weeks, which was really good. I'd like to go back again soon, actually. Christmas is always good, hanging out in the pool, a few beers, barbecue. So, yeah. Interesting that Mel's brought up the rain, Peter. If you're going to Danang, so you won't have to. I don't think you'll have to worry about the rain. Ho Chi Minh City just hasn't been getting much rain at the moment. What are we? 1st of June already. I think it's one of the latest sort of rainy seasons we've had. Starts to the rainy season that we've had. Peter, Joel T-Vin, the food street. Oh, is that the food street in Danang, is it? Is that the night market? It might be the night market there. That might be it. Yeah, I haven't been for a little while. Need to go back. Would be good to go back soon. Joel T-Vin, the food street. Yeah. And the market's pretty good there too, the Central Market and the old sort of bar strip. There used to be a little bit of a kind of a backpackerish area back in the day. I don't know if it's still there near the Central Market in Danang, because that's the traditional centre part of town. Obviously, the Central Market's there, and Danang was built on the river. So all that beach area, that's only just been developed recently. Bees, yes, I've visited Cambodia. I've been there a couple of times. So I think the first time I went there was 2000, around about the year 2000. On that particular trip, I went to Phnom Penh, and then I went to Siem Reap and saw Angkor Wat, which was pretty amazing. I went to Sihanoukville as well, which is in the south. Sihanoukville before it became a Chinese casino city. It was a very sleepy, quaint little town with a great beach. And then Mel and I went to Cambodia what are we now, 25? Yeah, 2 years ago. We went to Cambodia 2 years ago. We went to Phnom Penh, Kampot, and Koh Rong. I actually have a couple of videos on it somewhere, and one of them went okay because I gave a very honest review of the places we went to in Cambodia, and I got a lot of hate. Cambodia is much loved by travelers. Look, when on our last trip, we went to a place called Koh Rong, I think that's how you pronounce it. You take a boat, you take a fast boat from Sihanoukville, about a 30-minute boat. Sensational island, beautiful water, amazing. The only downside with it at the moment is when we were there, they were clearing the center of the island to put a runway, to put a landing strip, an airport there, so that they can bring international tourists directly to the island, which is a little bit of a shame. So if you were going to go to Koh Rong, I'd go as soon as possible. There's another one nearby as well, I can't pronounce it, Solom or something like that, which is also beautiful. They're beautiful islands. Phnom Penh's interesting. It's got a lot of the old French heritage there still. Also, the Russian market as well. The central market is awesome. And the people are wonderful. Cambodian people are just lovely, super lovely. I'm not huge on Khmer food, unfortunately. I'm not big on it. I think coming from Vietnam, I feel a little bit spoiled in that regard. I have sort of mixed feelings about Cambodia. I'm a little bit reluctant to talk too much about it because I copped a lot of hate for my comments on that video, and all I was trying to do was to be honest about my particular experience at that time. But if you have any questions about it, let me know. Peter, I'll be there 9 weeks, so expecting plenty of hot weather. Yeah, you should get it too, especially in Danang. 9 weeks, long time. You'll be able to hit Hoi An, of course, and Hue and all those sorts of interesting places. Stephen. G'day, Stephen. Good to see you here. Sihanoukville used to be beautiful. Now it's a giant toilet. I didn't want to say that. You said that. But yeah. We didn't go into Sihanoukville this time. The only part of Sihanoukville that we saw on this particular trip was the awesome, by the way, port where you catch the boat, all the boats out to the islands there, which was really good. I found it really easy to navigate and, not a hassle at all. And they were doing it up at that point. There were still works going on. I thought that was really good about that. And we also went to the train station, the old dilapidated train station. But that was a good experience too, because I ended up talking to the station master. The station master happened to be there on the day, and I was asking him questions about the railway system in Cambodia and the the particular station, which is a little bit run down. It's an old French colonial era station, I think. Or is it modernist? Yeah, it might be modernist. I'm not sure, but it's a real classic station. And they also have a train there. I did a short video on it. It's on my channel. Of there's a Mexican-built train that takes you to Kampot, which is what we took. But other than that, I don't think there's much of a need to go to Sihanoukville anymore. Stephen, you'd remember the nice beaches there and stuff. Yeah, it's such a shame. I don't know what's happening with it now. Bees, that pause. Yes, yeah. I have when people mention Cambodia, I do pause a little bit because I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't know. It's up to people to decide for themselves. I don't want to give them a negative impression of it. I think part of when I travel to neighboring countries in Southeast Asia is that, you know, I'm coming from Vietnam, so I'm comparing straight away, and it's probably something I shouldn't do. You know? Kevin, I just found out we have Filipino restaurant chain. What's the name of it? There's a Jollibee. Is it Mel just said Jollibee. Yeah, that's the only one. What's the other one? Max's, I think. It's an hour from me in Parksburg, West Virginia. I can't wait to go try it, but it's supposed to be closing soon. It's for sale. Oh, you better get in quick. Yeah, go and have some chicken pork adobo. I don't know what else they do. Sisig, probably. Sisig is, I don't know how familiar you are with Filipino food, but sisig is pig's ear, you know, sort of. What else? The face of pigs that's used in sisig, sisling sisig. Lumpia, which is like jaya or fried spring rolls. Similar to that. So yeah, go and check it out. What's the other one, Mel? The noodles? Pansit. Yeah, I keep forgetting pansit. Noodles. It's like a kind of a stir-fried noodle. So go and check it out. Let us know what it's like. What else have we got? Oh, here we go. I'll stay on for another 15 minutes. So let fly with your questions. It's nearly dinner time. Yeah, maybe I'll put it on. Quite a few expats living in Danang moved to Cambodia when the 30-day visas were in. Yeah, I think a lot went to Kampot. Would that be right? They probably went down there. When we went to Kampot, it was quite noticeable that there are a lot. When I say a lot, they were noticeable. Western, mostly men in the central part of town there. And I heard that was the case. I'll go back to Kampot at some stage. I'd actually like to drive the motorbike from Vietnam and go across, because it's not actually that far from here. Kampot's not far at all. Yeah. Oh, bees, yeah. Watch those videos with an open mind. You mightn't like me after it. And the comments are a bit full on, you know. So yeah. Anyway, I only did what I could do, and that was to reply, you know. So no, I think you just plug it in, baby. I think it's Yeah, that's okay. You can pull, yeah. I think put it up. Yeah, just no, that one. Yeah, and just you got it, and then tilt it back. It's just that one. That one there. Yeah, so bees, watch with an open mind. You're right. Hang on a sec. Just a moment. I think that's okay. There we go. Yeah, that looks really good. We've got some light now. Okay, where are we? G'day, Rob. How you going? Good to see you again. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it. Stephen, beaches were beautiful. People were lovely. Food, meh. I've got to agree, I've got to agree on that one. I'm just, he's, Stephen's talking about Sihanoukville and Cambodia, I think. And the food's just doesn't do it for me. Yeah. But people are as you say, people are lovely, and the beaches was really lovely as well. Matt, have you used the Apple AirPods for translating? Someone recently told me that they have translation capabilities. No, I haven't. The other day, I started using. I just started using ChatGPT actually on my phone, which seemed to work okay, but it was a bit clunky, and doing interviews and stuff like that. It's a bit, the moment gets lost sometimes. So, but I have been using, when I've been listening back on my videos, when I haven't been able to pick up certain words and phrases, I've been playing it out aloud on my monitor and holding ChatGPT up to my phone. And it's surprisingly good, it picks up quite a lot of stuff. Sometimes it goes a little bit haywire, especially with the Vietnamese language, with the way it is, but it's pretty good. When does the next video drop? I was talking about that before. Hopefully midweek. So, yeah, there's a little bit of work to do on it yet. And I'm not huge on editing, and I'm not great at editing as well. So that's taking me a little bit of time. But I have to go back and meet the lady again, because there's more questions that I want to ask her. So hopefully midweek, hopefully. Here we go. There's some good tips coming here. Con market in the city side of Danang, a great place to visit for anyone visiting Danang. Yeah, I don't know that one. I'm not that familiar with Danang. I've spent a fair bit of time there, but recently I haven't been there. Con market. Is that the central one there near the bars and stuff? Or there used to be that sort of backpacker area just in there. Oh, here we go. TJ, have you ever heard of Viet Harvest in Ho Chi Minh City? It rings a bell. Do they do bread? Does Viet Harvest do bread? I think they used to do like, what do you call them? They used to do baguettes and bread and stuff like that, I think. Is that what you're talking about, TJ? Adam, do you and Mel both have PR in Vietnam? No. Not many people do. Not many foreigners do. I know one foreigner who's been here a long time. He's been here a long time, 30-something years, and football players tend to get it. So at the moment, what it is that Mel, through her work, has a work permit, and then what's called a TRC, a temporary resident card. And as a spouse, I have that as well. I don't have a work permit, but I have a TRC. Yeah. Although I have a registered business here, so that allows me to work, which is kind of a bit complicated, I know, but I have a registered business here, so I can work. I can do certain forms of business. I mean, like marketing business and stuff like that. But typically speaking, foreigners don't. There's not really that option unless there are conditions. You've done something outstanding to help Vietnam or to promote Vietnam or something like that. But there has been talk about trying to bring something like that in. Yeah. Okay. I just saw this and I'm like, what are you talking about, Kevin? But you're talking about this. You're talking about cashew milk and cheese. Haven't heard of juice. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to hang around for another 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to have something to eat, I think. Can do it. How is your Vietnamese now? Is it better? Not much better. Not much better. It's you know how it is. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards with the Vietnamese language. I think my reading's improving a little bit, but I get tongue-tied when I speak. It's like I've got a mouthful of sand or something like that, So it's very difficult. But Vietnamese is all about confidence, so you need to use it. You need to speak it regularly and have people around you pump you up, because it's very common to say something and then have someone correct you. Because I think, as I've mentioned before, Vietnamese people in general are not used to foreigners speaking back to them in Vietnamese, and so then the confusion starts. It's like if you're off with your pronunciation, they think that you're perhaps speaking in your native language, and then the wheels fall off at that point. So it's very much about confidence, So but hopefully we'll improve more as I go along. Thanks for asking anyway. Yeah, that's true. Bees, the dogs love my Vietnamese. I don't know if it's my Vietnamese, though. I don't know what it is. I think it's just there's so many dogs around these days, Yeah. And people are using them more for security, unfortunately. Thanks, guys. Thanks for taking the piss out of me about the dogs. Yeah, I love dogs, as I've said many times before. I love dogs, and most of them love me. Most dogs love me, but I get the occasional one that attacks. I really need to start, when I go to these alleyways and stuff, look on the map where the nearest hospital is, so I can quickly go and get a rabies jab. All right, Rabbit. Cool. Nice one. Yeah. Someone did die of rabies recently in Vung Tau, actually. There were 2 cases recently. So it's very real. So you got to understand my concern with these mongrels. Cheers, Peter. No worries. Yeah, hopefully it's okay. Hopefully it turns out all right. As I said earlier, at the very least, it'll be a good feeling to be able to have done the story. You know, I've learned a lot already. So, and to be able to help Miss Ian I think she appreciates it already. And if we can get some kind of positive outcome out of it in terms of at least making connection with her daughter in some way, I think, you know, it will have all been worth it. All right, so I think I'm gonna go and get something to eat now. We've been going for 2 hours already. I can't believe it. Thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if you have any questions about anything, always let me know. I'm pretty easy to contact here. And look out for the review of this video tomorrow. I'll go through it and put up the timestamps so that you guys, if you're interested in finding other bits of information that you're interested in, you can go back to it and find it easily. So hopefully I'll have that up sort of late, in the afternoon anyway, early afternoon. So yeah. Okay, cool. Next week, I'm not too sure if I'm going to have a live or not. It's Melanie's birthday next. Oh, what day is it? Next Monday. Next Monday, not Sunday. But she has some friends coming to see her, and so I think we're going to be catching up with them and celebrating Mel's birthday, and then she's going on a little break with them, which is really cool. My Aussie motorbike license hasn't arrived yet. Just as an update, I need to call them again. It's lost somewhere. So I think maybe first port of call this week for me might be the local post office to see if it may have turned up at the post office and it's just sitting there and they haven't delivered it, because it's already been another 3 weeks since I inquired about it. If not, I'll have to call Main Roads in Australia to see what's going to happen. It's been 3 months, I think, since I've ridden my motorbike. So yeah, so Mel's going away for a few days. I'm going to be most likely hanging around here. So we probably won't do a live this week, but the following week we probably will. Actually, I may have a guest on. I'm queuing up a guest. He's a Vietnamese. What's his profile? He's Vietnamese, but is a professor, or he had a career as a professor in the US for a very, very long time, and he specializes in the Mekong Delta. So we're going to get him on the live stream probably in 2 weeks' time. He's a very interesting man, and he'll be able to answer a lot of questions that you have about Vietnam and the Mekong Delta. So look out for that. I'll let you know anyway. All right, guys, take it easy. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.